Hello, Entropians, and welcome to the next installment of the Noob to CLD challenge. Today I'm going to be talking about my time on Next Island. So, first we'll recap sort of where the account's at after spending a couple of weeks on Next Island. So on Next Island, first thing I did, of course, first thing you should always do on a new planet is to do the starter missions. Pick up that free stuff. Next Island doesn't have a ton of, well, Next Island does have a few of them, but they don't give a ton of resources. Of course, you get a free, surveying tool, you get free mining equipment, and you get a little bit of free ammunition. But other than that, you don't get a ton of free ammunition. But what Next Island does have are some great repeatable daily missions. In fact, Next Island has the most repeatable daily missions that will just straight up give you either something you can sell for TT or something you can sell for markup. So, what it came down to is after the starter missions, two things: hunting pigs and sweating screechers. I know I wasn't going to do a lot of sweating in this Noob to CLD challenge, and I really don't think I do. But first, let's talk about the pigs. There is a mission to kill 200 boar piglets. These are very easy mobs to kill. 10 HP, about 10 HP per mob. And in return, you get 1600 1.6k Elysian tech chips. Now, the tech chips themselves have a very, very low TT value, 0.001 peck is their TT value, but they sell for pretty good markup, especially with the timing that I happen to land on Next Island. The carnival is still relatively new, and so the tech chips had a higher than average markup. I'm assuming because people were using them to construct carnival tickets to do all of the carnival activities. So when I first got to the island, the tech chips were selling pretty well at about 1.4 ped per K. So completing the mission would yield 1.6k. And so it would be a really nice bonus to finishing that mission and to kind of help you stay profitable. Historically, the tech chips, while they are used for crafting other things besides just the carnival tickets, their markup has not always been quite as strong as it was when I first got there. And so by the time I left, it was tough to get 1.1k ped per K. And so you can see that the timing of things just happened to work out for me. So I spent a couple of weeks on Next Island doing that the boar piglet daily every single day. In addition to that, after I sold my first batch of tech chips, which I sold 8k of them for 11 ped on the auction house, after auction house fees, I probably made about nine and a half on that transaction. The fees really do add up when you are into that high of markup territory. The fees will really start to add up. But either way, it was a nice little bump to my ped card. From there, I saw that somebody was selling. A couple days later, someone was selling tech chips on the auction house at under 1 ped per K. So I got excited and I bought those. I bought 9.6k tech chips for 9 ped, which I thought was a steal of a deal. And then, in addition to that, I sold 2k of sweat at 1.5 ped per K. So there's that. Um, that was all the sweat I had gathered up to that point. Um, but because the tech chips, after that first batch, the tech chips I was having a hard time selling them, not on the auction house, and so I was running low on ped, so decided to sell whatever sweat I had. Um, there is another mission that I did that resulted in some ped, and that is the timed driving challenge mission that you can find on Next Island. The result is a vehicle blueprint with 10 clicks, and that I sold for 3 ped. So there's a Scotty C did a great video on that mission, and so I'll post the link to that video in the description. Check it out, and if you haven't done it yet on Next Island, hop over and do it. Whether you want to build the vehicles yourself or sell the blueprint so that others can build them, it's a great mission to do. So the other thing that I did on Next Island was sweat. Again, I didn't do a ton of sweating, and Next Island has a unique sweating area. So I was sweating screechers, and the reason I was sweating screechers is because only on Next Island, well, as far as I know, it's only on Next Island, there is a revive terminal that will also heal you, and it's the one just right next to the screechers. And so the reason I was spending time there wasn't necessarily for the sweat, although I wouldn't pass it up. The reason I was spending time there was because of that revive terminal. Starting with a brand new account, all of my skills are very low, especially my evader skills. And the problem with training evader skills is it just takes time. The way you train evader skills is by getting hit in the face, and getting hit in the face takes time because then you need to heal up from getting hit in the face. So I did spend some time at this revive terminal sweating screechers, getting hit in the face, and then running back to the revive terminal to heal up so that I could get hit in the face even faster. Ultimately, it didn't actually yield skills as fast as I was hoping. It did yield skills. It is probably faster than if you were to just get hit in the face and go AFK for 10 minutes waiting to heal and then get hit in the face again. But it wasn't quite as fast as I was hoping. Stevie B swears by the Zykion Citadel method of getting hit in the face by the extremely large mobs there. So we'll give that one a try, and see if it yields evader skills faster than this one. So there was a little bit of sweating, not a ton. Again, I did say that I don't want this to be a sweat to CLD challenge because nobody wants to see that, and nobody wants to do that, especially me. The other thing that I did after a couple of weeks of gathering up the tech chips, I got a chance to use my Toulon-born benefit of riding the Yamato, and so the Yamato was coming. I was trying to sell the tech chips, not having much luck, and finally just dumped all of them onto the auction house. At this point, I was at 21k Elysian tech chips, ended up selling them on the auction house for 24 ped, and that yielded about 1 ped per k after auction house fees and everything else. So to recap my time on Next Island, when I first arrived on Next Island, I had just over 9 ped, and this was from the Toulon starter missions that I had done. So I arrived at just over 9 ped doing the next island starter missions, the vehicle race mission, a little bit of sweating, and a lot of hunting boar piglets. I left the next island with just over 33 ped. So in a couple of weeks, increased my ped card by um, by over 20 ped, which is not bad. Um, of course, we are going to want to figure out a way to do this faster, because at that rate, it'll be, about, I don't know, too many years in order to finally get up to a CLD. But that is the recap for my time on Next Island. Now, I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about swunting. I know there are probably a lot of you saying that I could have profited a lot more if I would have swunted those boar piglets. And I did try a little bit of swunting. Not swunting them dry, but simply trying to gather some sweat until they started charging me and attacking, and then switching to my weapon and shooting. I'd get on average 1 to 2 bottles of sweat per piglet, which was nice. Now, the reason I didn't do more swunting was, well, two things. One, since I was working on a daily repeatable mission, I wanted to get the mission on cooldown as quickly as possible so that I could take the mission again. Swunting can be great, but it can take a while, as I'm sure you've all seen. And so, if I were to swunt them, especially if I were to swunt them dry, I could end up taking an extra hour or two for the mission, which would just push back the reset time, which is 21 hours, but I don't consistently get on at the same time, so I didn't want to risk pushing it back. That was the first reason. The second reason is my theories on loot. Everybody has their theories on loot, and I am always trying to learn more about loot and just how the algorithm works. Now, I do not have enough data, and especially not recorded data, to make this as an affirmative claim. So take it with a grain of salt. But I do believe that spending large amounts of time sweating a creature before you kill it decreases your overall loot. You do get the sweat, which may or may not make up for it. But when you talk about just the loot that you get from killing a creature, I think it decreases your overall loot. Now, why would I say this? Well, first is anecdotal data from what I've seen. Not only do I think it decreases your overall loot, I think it decreases the composition of loot that you get. This is just from what I've seen. It has felt that way when I have sweat a mob and killed it versus just killing it. The second reason that I say that is because of what Mindark and others have said about loot. And what I have interpreted from these things is that Mindark has some sort of metric to measure what is the optimal hunting setup. I'm not talking about just your looter professions or your efficiency rating on your weapon, but I do think that they have some sort of metric that measures how optimally they feel that you are killing a mob. And by increasing this optimal amount, they will give you either better or more loot. Again, this is all just a theory. Take it with a grain of salt. But one of those metrics that I'm thinking may go into this could be time. The time that it takes for you to kill a mob. I believe it was Mindark. I'd have to go out and find the article or the forum post that if it wasn't Mindark and it was just another Entropian trying to figure things out. But there was something somewhere that said that the optimal kill rate for a mob is 3 to 6 shots, which is really low, and most people aren't hitting that, and lower than puny mobs and really low level mobs. But I do think that was said. Now, do I think it makes sense for it to be a hard 3 to 6 shots? No, I don't. Especially since the the weapon firing rate is so different on so many weapons. On your pistols, it's very fast. On your short blades, it's very fast. On your long range rifles, it's much slower. On plasma rifles, it's a lot slower. So, what do I think that actually means? I think that actually means time. The time that it takes to kill a mob is what's being measured there. And so, I think time is one of the metrics. Probably not the only one, but I think time is one of the metrics that Mindark uses to determine your optimal killing of a mob. Other things that I think might go in there and probably do are healing. I think when you do healing on a mob, when you heal yourself up on a mob, they do take that decay into account, but I think that probably, at least if it's excessive healing, which they've stated that excessive healing, it counts against you. Other things that might count against you would be something like armor decay. Excessive armor decay could count against you. Of course, that would also be measured in the time aspect. So again, this is just a theory. Take it with a grain of salt, and I'd love to hear your theories down below in the comments. So please let me know what you think Mindark is looking for in loot. I think we can all agree that looter profession and the weapon efficiency rating do play some role in that. But what else? What is it that you guys are trying to optimize when you're trying to increase the loot that you get and the composition of loot that you get? How do you become most profitable as a hunter? I'd love to hear it. So thank you all. I appreciate you joining me, and we will see you next time on the next installment of the Noob to CLD Challenge.